Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts, and I'm excited to introduce you to a new podcast series in partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College. Having provided higher education and career training for the past half-century, LFCC is tightly interwoven into the fabric of the Northern Shenandoah Valley and Piedmont regions. Join me every week for conversations with current and former students to hear their funny and inspiring stories as we learn about their journey to higher education, the role that LFCC has played, where they are now, and where they plan to go. We'll also talk to current and former professors about their experiences and best memories of LFCC over the past 50 years. Get every single episode as they're released on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for LFCC Stories. Hello and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Friday. As you are listening to the show today, you have made it through another week. It was a hot one, but you have gotten through it, and we've got some really cool guests on the show today. We are pre-recording, but what we're pre-recording, you could go and do this weekend. While you are out and about, I am on the Shenandoah University campus chatting with Jonathan Noyalis. He is the director of Shenandoah University's McCormick Civil War Institute. Joining him is Wes Brown. He is an immersive technology developer with the Shenandoah Center for Immersive Learning Skill is what we're going to call that from now on, aren't we, Wes? So, Jonathan, tell me a little bit about the McCormick Civil War Institute here at Shenandoah University.
So the McCormick Civil War Institute was founded in 1992. By Dr. Brandon Beck, Jim Davis, who was president of Shenandoah University at the time. It initially started out as a way to offer undergraduate courses in Civil War era history and to offer community programs, so like battlefield tours, historic site visits, and those types of things. When I came as director in January 2017, we really expanded our operations. So we offer Civil War era study certificate programs, we offer battlefield tours, various seminars throughout the year. But one of the really important and cool things that the Institute does is we manage all of the educational and interpretive programming at the university's river campus at the Cool Spring Battlefield. So the university acquired the Cool Spring Battlefield, 195 acres of it, not the whole battlefield, but 195 acres right along the banks of the Shenandoah River in Clark County in 2013. And the agreement between the American Battlefield Trust and the university was that we would become the custodians, the stewards of the property, but we would do things to interpret the site, to offer educational programs at the site. And so that really is one of our central focal points moving forward.
And it's very unique for a university to have that teaching arm where you have students and you are teaching history and teaching them how to be teachers or how to be historians. And at the same time, you're teaching the public and using the history of this battlefield to teach those of us that live here or those of us that visit here what actually happened.
Yeah, it is. I think it is rather unique. So, I mean, there's a lot of Civil War programs throughout the country, but you can only go to that site and see what those other managers have done. We're able to kind of use that as an outdoor laboratory for our students in public history and Civil War era studies, where they get to do the research and to develop the programming and at the same time educate the public in the process.
So you developed this app. You released it in March. You showed me a few minutes ago how it works, and I'm telling you right now, y'all need to go do this. That is the coolest thing ever. So explain it for our listeners.
Yeah, one of the great challenges we have at Cool Spring is we don't have a full-time 7-day-a-week staff out there. In the summer, we have some volunteer help on the weekends. So we really needed to come up with ways to help visitors to the site to understand what happened there, the significance of that battle, the great tragedy of war, what happens when a people become divided. And so we have kind of the traditional elements when I first came in January 2017, the printed walking tour, but that really doesn't capture the human emotion of battle. It doesn't help visitors understand what are the long-term impacts on an 18 or 19-year-old who was hundreds of miles away from home. What is the impact on him? What's the impact on the family for decades after the conflict? So the app sort of developed with me talking with the director of the Center for Immersive Learning at the time, J.J. Rusella, to really create this sort of immersive learning experience where you could capture in a very brief but powerful moment what these soldiers were going through at a particular moment in the battle, and then also have an opportunity to discuss what happened to these guys after the fighting happened there on July 18th, 1864.
So, Wes, Jonathan and JJ have this conversation, and you obviously were part of it as staff for Skill. Did you think it was a great idea? Were you overwhelmed at what might be involved, or were you ready to jump 100% in?
I was ready to jump 100% of the way in. There were a lot of ideas at the time. It sounded like there would be different types of apps for different types of experiences. My role was mostly to not just develop the app with the work study students, but also kind of centralize everything. I like to think of myself as the grounding piece. I didn't provide any of the content, but I'd like to think of myself as the conduit to bring that content to life.
Now, I think a lot of my listeners and small business owners in particular, we hear the word app and we think it's this complicated thing to put together. And in a lot of cases, it is. I would imagine this particular type of app is even more complicated than just something that, for example, people could pull up and listen to the radio station's music on. There was a lot of coding, a lot of behind the scenes stuff that had to take place.
Yes, there was a lot of coding. There's a lot of 3D modeling, texturing. The technology is still fairly brand new. Augmented reality and virtual reality is still cutting edge, so there's not a lot of resources there to develop it. Working with our work studies in-house, along with the students from the AR/VR program, we were able to develop some of those fundamental pieces to get it out the door faster.
Were you able to put all of that together within the confines of a semester or a year? Did you have students that were leaving the program and moving up, or new students coming in? How was that?
Yes, so we had some students graduating. We had some students coming in brand new. The pandemic was definitely a hit in terms of movement. There was a lot of red tape to set up, things like getting it submitted to the App Store, to Google Play, a lot of factors, but overall it went fairly quickly once we had everything in place.
So, Jonathan, you were showing me before we started recording how the app works, and it was really cool initially when I'm looking at it. I think the thing that really got me was when you said, now move yourself and the iPad, and I'm following this particular soldier. How did the logistics for getting the people to play these roles and the voices that you hear, what kind of logistics went into that?
Yeah, so to kind of add some context to this was a multi-year project. So we did the filming for the 360 videos. When you're talking about the app, the augmented reality portion, this was filmed with a 360 camera. So you kind of stand and you can hold your iPad, your smart device, and you spin around and you're kind of in that space. You're immersed within that particular moment. We filmed this in May of 2019. It was 2 days of filming. It's based on a dozen accounts of Union and Confederate soldiers. But before we even started filming, there was a good half year's worth of research, finding the accounts that we wanted to use. And this happened with the help of our students in Civil War era studies, researching the backgrounds of these individuals, what happened to them after the Battle of Cool Spring, and then there was the writing of the script. So you go throughout that whole process, you film, and then you get into recording of the narration. So voice actors came in, they narrated for particular soldiers. I actually did all the contextual narrations for it.
I thought that was your voice, but I wasn't 100% sure.
And then in addition to that, because we had a limited amount of time, 2 days of filming, everybody who was part of the filming, they were all volunteering their time, living historian friends of mine or students. But we had all these other accounts that we didn't have a chance to recreate in 360 video. And so it was actually Wes, I believe, who really came up with the idea to basically take these accounts and just do an audio augmented reality experience in addition to the video reality experience that we had. So when visitors go to the site, they can take our 9-stop tour. And if they have the app downloaded, you can download it for free. If you search Through Their Eyes in the App Store or on Google Play, you can download it. As you walk through the 1.5 miles roughly of trails, when you get within about 10 feet of a GPS location, there's a voice that's going to come on. It will be my voice. But it kind of brings you into this moment through an audible medium where, again, you hear about a particular soldier, what's happening at that moment, that soldier's account, and then what happened to them after the Battle of Cool Spring.
And I think you were dead on too, Wes, because that visual nugget catches your attention, but the audio, longer piece of it is what holds your attention. I've read a lot since getting into radio about the power of the voice and audio. So I think it really does make sense to have laid it out the way that you did.
And also, I want to add that one of our interpretive goals at Cool Spring is to help people understand individual stories. So as a historian, I believe that history is at its core about people and how people are affected by very dramatic moments. And I don't think you can get that from just reading a Wayside Sign, but seeing the particular vignette I showed
out
you,
of the way,
showing Orderly Davis from the 123rd Ohio crawling out, and as his moments are waning on this earth, writing a letter to his wife and then hiding his belongings so that they're not captured by Confederates. I don't think that's something that anyone who ever sees that little 2-minute video is ever going to forget.
So let's take a break there because I want to talk about some of the other people that are featured in the app so that those that are listening get a sense of what they can expect when they download the app and go out to the battlefield or just do it at home because we did it right here in your office. So let's do that when we come back. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation. We are pre-recording today at Shenandoah University. We are chatting with Jonathan Noyalis. He is the director of Shenandoah University's McCormick Civil War Institute. Wes Brown is here with us as well. He is an immersive technology developer with skill. We're going to talk more with both of them about the app through their eyes. You can download it during the break. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Got a financial decision to make or a goal to reach, but you don't know where to start? You've come to the right place. Introducing Quick Money Chats with the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program. Visit tinyurl.com/quickmoneychat to schedule a virtual chat with a staff member or trained volunteer. We won't tell you what to do, but we will give you the tools you need to choose wisely. And because Virginia Cooperative Extension is part of Virginia Tech and Virginia State, your land-grant universities, you can be sure that our information is credible and trustworthy. And you'll know that we aren't trying to sell you something. Maybe you want to improve your credit score, or reduce your banking overdraft fees, or even figure out if you can afford to buy that car. Sorting through tons of information on the internet can be overwhelming, and sometimes it can be hard to know who to trust. Schedule a Quick Money Chat and get the information you need to take action. Go to tinyurl.com/quickmoneychat and get financial education personalized for you.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Friday. As you are listening to the show today, we have pre-recorded our conversation in person on site at the McCormick Civil War Institute on the campus of Shenandoah University. Their director, Jonathan Noyalis, is here with me. Wes Brown is also here. He is the immersive technology developer. So we went to break, Jonathan, and you were telling me about the difficulty in choosing just the handful of soldiers that you were profiling. Tell me about one of them so people get a sense of what they can expect.
Yeah, so one of the individuals who is highlighted within this AR app is a soldier from Connecticut, Charles Lynch. He served in the 18th Connecticut Infantry. And Cool Spring is not like the Battle of Gettysburg or the Battle of Antietam. So you don't have this wide multitude of like tens of thousands of accounts. And so we had to first identify what was a really good account that kind of helped explain something about the battle. So Corporal Lynch, he published a diary in the early part of the 1900s. And one of the things he wrote about in that diary were the difficulties retreating across the Shenandoah River. So, the Army, it crossed to the west side, then it had to cross back to the east side under the cover of darkness. It's the middle of a battle, very kind of confusing.
Hard to do even today.
Right. And Corporal Lynch wrote something in there about explosive bullets being fired at these retreating Union soldiers. And I remember the first time I read that account, I thought, well, this is kind of curious. I knew that they were used. There were two different types of explosive bullets used during the Civil War, but I thought, really, at Cool Spring? Well, it turns out archaeological evidence from stuff that was taken out of the ground back in the late 70s and early 80s that we have on display out at the Cool Spring exhibition in the lodge out there was actually like defective Confederate Gardner bullets that were blown apart, but they had the effect of an explosive bullet. So that kind of, you have the account, then you have to think about researching, in this case, technological aspects of the battle. What does the archaeology tell you? But then you have to get into the soldiers' backgrounds. And so we're not writing about Ulysses S. Grant or Jubal Early guys who have memoirs and there's a lot of information. We're writing about everyday, ordinary individuals, and we're telling their stories through the app. So it did require looking at compiled service records of all of these soldiers, looking at pension records of all of these soldiers to kind of get a sense of, we have Corporal Lynch's account, but what happened to him after the war? He doesn't write about that in his diary. What was he doing before the war? We don't have that from his diary. And so for all of these accounts, and again, there's about 24 total United States and Confederate accounts. It's not just that primary document, but it's researching who these people are, what they did prior to the war, what they did after the war. So there's a lot of research that went into this. And again, it kind of takes you into a particular moment. So as we were talking about during the break, it's not a movie. It's a moment frozen in time.
And there's no creative license. This is actual, real, bona fide information and research that you have found.
That's correct. So basically, it's taking that account, and with the 360 video, it's recreating that. I think to a certain degree, obviously, there's a little bit of interpretation there, but we're not making up the stuff that happened. This is all based on actors at that particular battle.
And Wes, that puts you in a very unique position as well, because you have to see both sides of this. You have to see what they're doing, what their vision is, and how they want this end product to work. And then you have to make it happen. You have to make it immersive, which can't be an easy thing to do either.
No, especially that our lab is generally synonymous with virtual reality. And this app is definitely augmented reality. It's definitely on a phone or tablet. So the main goal that we had to tackle was to take where we are an expert in 360 video and convert that into a phone or tablet form that's viewable. And as soon as we accomplished that task, it was all downhill from there, I guess.
Did confetti fall from the ceiling when you finally got it figured out and knew you could do it?
Yeah, absolutely, because things like the GPS-driven feature of the app along with the 360 video, everything just kind of fell into place. A lot of this app is cutting edge even for what's currently out there.
So it's not cutting edge necessarily for the Shenandoah Valley. It's cutting edge across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. I, to this date, have yet to see anything like this type of app.
We were talking about the features, too, during the break, Jonathan, because I asked you, with an app, you have, unlike a movie, it has an end. You have an ability with this app to keep adding. As you discover more soldiers and do more research and find more people, there are more things that you can add and grow this app exponentially.
Right, and I think that's one of the great interpretive values of this app. And again, I think Wes is right. I'm not aware of any battlefield site for any war that does anything like this. I think this is new. This is cutting edge. And one of the great things about it is that it does allow you to edit, to tweak, to add to it. If you think about when you go to a Civil War site or any historic site, they have the wayside signs. It's thousands of dollars if you want to change that.
Right. Heaven forbid you get a typo on
right.
one of them.
So this, we have the ability to add, and I think we will add in the coming years, not just additional soldier accounts. Aside from the fact that we own that 195 acres that was significant in the Battle of Cool Spring, this is also a site that is intimately connected with one of the most significant moments in American history, and that's John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry. So the 195 acres that we own was once part of an approximately 1,100-acre plantation owned by Judge Richard Parker. And so one of the things that we have become more curious about and have been researching over the past 6 or 7 months with the help of our students in Civil War era studies here at Shenandoah University is, how did enslaved people who were laboring at the retreat, what did they do when they learned about John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry? And there are these little nuggets of information we've come across, for instance, of enslaved people out there committing arson on the property, which was a pretty typical reaction throughout the Shenandoah Valley. They're not able to go and join John Brown's army in Harper's Ferry as he tries to strike his blow against slavery, but they can try to assert some control over their lives and show solidarity with Brown by burning down barns or outbuildings or whatever the case might be. And so this is a property that has a very complex multi-layered history. And through this app, we will be able to add these stories in the coming years and really provide a very deep and rich educational experience for individuals who come to our Cool Spring campus.
And Wes, I have a very basic working knowledge of how apps work and the operating systems. I have an Apple, I have an iPhone, so I know when iOS releases a new version, I get new emojis and I get new things. How many things are there that you can't wait to add when the operating systems catch up to what you want to do with this app?
Yeah, so the primary feature, now that you mention iOS, is a technology called ARKit that brings out the augmented reality features, using your phone or tablet's camera to perceive things that aren't there and interact with them. Those features, along with the oncoming additional projects that are being made, I'd like to tie in and improve, just like you can witness the audio within a site or within the site that uses GPS. I'd like to include additional maybe 3D models, textures, get the feeling that you're also there with something.
Now that would be kind of cool. And that's where you have the capability of putting that together. But again, your hands are somewhat tied because you can only work within the confines of what these operating systems on Apple and Android and things will allow for you.
Yes, absolutely. We develop the experiences and filter and deliver the content. We don't build hardware or operating system level stuff. But yeah, we are a little limited to what manufacturers and hardware is.
I will look at iOS updates in a whole new way now. Before it was like, oh, am I going to get some new emojis and my camera's going to be nicer? But now that I know what people that are on your end of the spectrum are looking at, it's got to be crazy how you're looking to see, because that's the other piece of this. Jonathan's going back in history and he's doing research and finding all of this. You have to kind of be a fortune teller and hope that something that you have put together in an experience is going to have enough weight that Apple or Android are going to want to add that as a feature to their new phones when they come out. And you could wait for years for some things to be added.
It's true, but that's why myself, the students of our AR/VR program, that's why we carry a significant research and development portion to stay cutting edge and keep up with everything.
Because you kind of have to figure out, okay, this is where they're leaning. So this is what we might get in an update. So let's make sure what we have on our end is going to fit with what they actually release.
Yeah, we have a general idea of where the industry is leading. We have several folks that are part of the industry, different contacts with manufacturers, software entities that we can help rely on. We don't have any insider knowledge.
So I can't call you up and say, hey, what's the new iPhone going to look like? Because, I'm waiting for the new iPhone to come out. I'm down 2 versions, but you're not going to be able to show me what the new iPhone's going to look like.
No. That would be very cool if we could.
I know, wouldn't that be nice? So, Jonathan, how can people access the app? How can they get to the battlefield? Give me all of the contact information.
Yeah, sure. So you can download this app. Again, it's free of charge through the Apple Store or through Google Play if you just search Through Their Eyes. You can also download it at the site. So at the site, at the trailhead, we have a kiosk. There's a sign in the front that kind of provides an overview of Cool Spring. On the back, there's a sign that discusses the app. There's actually a QR code you can scan if you don't want to spend the time searching for it. And for individuals who want to go out and explore Cool Spring with the app, if you've never been out to Cool Spring, the address of the site for GPS purposes is 1400 Parker Lane in Bluemont, Virginia. It's, again, borders the Shenandoah River. So if you're heading out of Winchester and driving towards Berryville, once you cross the Shenandoah River, it's the first left, and then you head back a gravel road into the property. If you would like more information about Cool Spring, the app, our programs out there, or the Civil War Institute in general, you can visit our website, which is www.su.edu/MCWI.
Oh, that makes it easy. I thought you were going to have to go through the whole McCormick Civil War Institute.
No, we had a long address like that at one point, and I had our marketing people. We shortened it.
So, Wes, tell me before we wrap up, the program itself, these students that you're working with, how amazing are they?
Pretty amazing. We are growing significantly. From what I understand, the old Armory building is being converted into what I think of as a tech center. where we're going to be including even more pieces of technology.
Well, you've got Joey G in there now with the esports program.
Oh yeah, well we are good friends with the esports program. Our lab was originally a house to both AR, VR, and esports. We've separated, but now we're gonna
Come back
reconnect.
together.
Yes.
And students were integral to your part of this project as well, Jonathan.
That's correct. I had probably 10 to 15 students, particularly in the early months of the research, who kind of helped me research, identify accounts, get the backgrounds of these guys. So, I mean, this is the great thing. It's not just a really cool product, but this is being done with a lot of student help, providing them real-world experience that helps them become more marketable when they're out there looking for a job or looking, to get into a graduate school.
So there you have it, mom and dads across the Shenandoah Valley. Shenandoah University is the place to go. And if you're listening to me in California, I have 18 podcast listeners, by the way, that listen in California. I have no idea why. This is the craziest thing ever. Shenandoah is where you want to send your kids. Yeah. Thank you both for taking some time to let me come and chat with you today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
It is Rubbermaid sale weekend, so get out to the Apple Blossom Mall tomorrow morning between 8 and noon. The United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley is doing their monthly Rubbermaid sale. It is in the Belk parking lot. Go get you some big old trash cans, as Elise says, for pennies on the dollar. I will meet you back here on Monday. I'll have a brand new episode of The Valley Today ready to go for you just a few minutes after noon.